fellow classmates. My name is Jessica Young, and today I will be presenting slides 31 through 60 of chapter 26. And let's get started. Okay, so today I'm going to be discussing concepts from chapter 26 and the topic of applied and environmental microbiology. And I'm going to be continuing on slide 31 from where my fellow classmate left off on slide 30. Okay, so this slide shows us a table about some of the products of recombinant DNA technology that is used in medicine. And one product that is used is interferons. And interferons are a group of signaling proteins made and released by host cells in response to the presence of several pathogens, such as viruses, bacteria, parasites, and also tumor cells. That being said, it's clear how interferons can be used to treat cancer and other things like multiple sclerosis, hepatitis, and even warts. Another product that is used from recombinant DNA technology is human insulin, and human insulin is used for the treatment of diabetes. Okay, in this slide, we have a table showing us the selected industrial products produced by microorganisms. And microorganisms, particularly bacteria, metabolically produce an incredible array of industrial useful chemicals. A variety of industrial products produced by microbes include enzymes, alternative fuels, pharmaceuticals, agricultural products, and even biosensors and bioreporters. And with all these products that are produced, you'll see on the right-hand column their uses. Let's go into the next screen to talk about biosensors and bioreporters. So, among the relatively new applications of microorganisms to solve environmental problems are biosensors and bioreporters. Okay, and biosensors are devices that combine bacteria or microbial products such as enzymes with electronic measuring devices to detect other bacteria, bacterial products, or chemical compounds in the environment. Bioreporters are somewhat simpler sensors that are composed of microbes with innate signaling capabilities. So what this means is biosensors and bioreporters alike detect products in the environment. So they detect chemical products or biological products in the environment, like bacteria and stuff. Okay, so biosensors and bioreporters are currently used to detect the presence of environmental pollutants like petroleum. They may also be useful in detecting bioterrorist attacks. Because bacteria are very sensitive to their environments, they can detect compounds in very small amounts. Biosensors and bioreporters can serve as early warning systems to give officials more time to respond by quickly detecting the metabolic waste products of weaponized biological agents. And what that means is biosensors and bioreporters can let people know whether or not somebody's using biological warfare. Okay, so here's an example of a common everyday used biosensor, and that is the pregnancy test. So when an egg is implanted with sperm and a woman becomes impregnated, the placenta produces a large amount of HCG, a hormone called HCG, and then the pregnancy test detects the HCG in the protein of urine, and that's how you know whether or not your results for your pregnancy test are positive or negative, because of the detection of the HCG hormone. Okay, so an important aspect of industrial microbiology is water treatment. And water treatment is important because it helps to reduce the amount of water pollution in the water. What is water pollution? Water pollution is the contamination of natural water bodies by either one of three ways. Those three ways being physically, chemically, and biologically. And on the next slide, we'll discuss those three different forms of water pollution. Okay, so in this picture, you see three forms of water pollution. And the first of those being physical. In the physical form of water pollution, water is polluted through the presence of particulate matter. The particulate matter is this trash and garbage and crap that you see in the water that people just carelessly throw into the water, or don't take the time to recycle, or make sure that the water got the trash got properly transported to landfills. So physical pollution is the easiest form of pollution in which we can hinder or stop, because we can just throw stuff away. We can just have it burnt down, or we can put it in landfills. We can stop putting it in the water. This is the easiest form of pollution to stop. Okay, the next form of pollution is chemical. And as you can see here, chemical pollution is like the runoff of chemical substances into the water. This usually occurs from like factories or industries or corporations. After they produce a large amount of products, they produce a large amount of chemical pollution as well that goes into the water. As you can see right here, this green sludge. And then it goes into local water bodies like lakes, ponds, rivers, stuff like that. And then those water bodies feed out into larger water bodies like the ocean. And then that's why you see this large amount of sludge and oil and water and chemicals that have accumulated in this large body of water. And that's not good for humans, because or even animals, because if they ingest it, or if they bathe in it, or if they are exposed to it for a prolonged period of time, they can get illnesses on their skin or internally and cause themselves brain damage or physical damage. And it could just be a large problem. So factories and industries are usually the reason to blame for chemical pollution. Okay, the last form of water pollution is biological. And in biological water pollution, that just means there's a lot of microorganisms, bacteria, viruses, stuff that can get you sick, make you ill in the water. And biological water pollution is the most important water pollution in which we need to treat. It is a high concern for humans because biological water contamination can cause many illnesses and spread lots of pathogens. Okay, water treatment is extremely important because it helps to reduce the amount of waterborne illnesses, which we just talked about in the last slide with biological contamination of water. So if anybody consumes this type of water, or bathes in this water, or drinks this water, they can have severe illnesses, or they can get extremely sick. And it's really easy to drink contaminated water and not know that you're doing so. So it's roughly 3 billion to 5 billion people in the world suffer from diarrheal episodes due to drinking contaminated water. And nearly 3 million children under the age of 5 die because they drink contaminated water. And you might ask, why are people drinking contaminated water? Well, in places other than the U.S., they don't have the type of filtration systems and water treatment systems that we have. So here in the U.S., we're lucky enough to have properly treated water. So we rarely encounter pathogenic diseases from water. But in other countries, you have to drink water to survive, so as human. So they just drink whatever water is available to them, and it might not necessarily be as clean because they don't have access to water treatment facilities like we do. So right here, this table, this diagram on this slide is just showing you the different types of diseases you can get through bacteria or viruses or parasites or toxin producers that are, present in water. And this is the different type of diseases that you can get from them over here on the right-hand column. Okay, so water treatment is important because it makes sure we have healthy, clean drinking water. Any water that's safe to drink is considered potable water. However, if water is not potable because it has more contaminants that are considered safe to drink, then it is then considered polluted water. Once water is considered to be polluted, then it has to be treated. And the treatment of drinking water is divided into 4 stages. We'll discuss those 4 stages on the next slide. Okay, so the 4 stages of water treatment consist of sedimentation, loculation, filtration, and lastly, disinfection. Please excuse my handwriting. I write bad, but normally not this bad. I'm using this tablet and this pen, and it makes it worse. Okay, so in this picture you see diagrams showing you the process of filtration and sedimentation and disinfection and the whole water treatment process. So here in this picture, in picture A, that shows you a real life picture of what a water treatment facility looks like. Here in picture B, this shows you the steps that occur in each part of the water treatment process. Okay, so another important aspect to water treatment is water quality testing. Water quality testing is a technique that uses the presence of indicator organisms to indicate the possible presence of pathogens in water. So it's just like, a backup plan. It's a second form. You use water treatment and then you do this to make sure there's nothing there. Or you pre-test it with this to see if there is pathogens or any bacteria in it prior to treating it. So this is the before step or the after step. Okay, so several testing methods can be used to assess water quality. One testing method that is used is what you see over here on the left, picture A, and that is the membrane filtration method. Okay, on this side you see the mug. It's called the ONPG or the mug test. I'm sorry, that's N. You have to use both the ONPG and the mug test. Okay, so with this one here, they do like a petri dish, and they take colonies, and they do like that agar test we did in the lab, and they see how many colonies are formed in 100 milliliters of water. The less colonies form, the more filtered and decontaminated the water is. In this test, they just use an indicator of chemicals and enzymes and bacteria to show the amount of, or if just to show whether or not the bacteria or the pathogen is present. So it will light up or change to yellow or blue if a certain pathogen or bacteria is present. So for things like viruses and certain bacteria, sometimes you have to use genetic methods to confirm that they exist. Some certain water quality testing doesn't work on viruses and certain forms of bacteria, so they have to use different forms of testing. Okay, so the next topic to be discussed is the treatment of wastewater, also known as sewage. So wastewater is typically defined as any water that leaves homes or businesses after being used for washing or flushing toilets. So the wastewater treatment process is similar to the water treatment process in the fact that it has 4 major steps. But the steps are different, and we're going to talk about those on the next slide. Okay, so in these pictures, you'll see the same thing you saw before with the water treatment slide. You'll see a picture of the actual facility. That's a real wastewater treatment facility. And then here, you see the steps that wastewater has to go through in order to be treated. The steps consist of primary treatment. Second step is secondary treatment. The third step is a chemical treatment. And then the last step is the sludge treatment. You can see that right here on these slides. Okay, here is a picture of a home septic system. And it's just showing you what happens after wastewater from the house enters the septic tanks and the process that it goes through. So it leaves the house and it turns to the sludge and it goes to the pipes beneath the ground. So this is just showing you what happens in a septic tank. So on this slide, it's just discussing another form of water treatment, wastewater treatment, and that is oxidation lagoons. And oxidation lagoons are mainly used by farmers or ranchers to treat their animal waste. That's just another form of wastewater treatment. And here on this image, it shows you another example of wastewater treatment, the process that they go through for treatment of wastewater in artificial wetland. Just showing you what happens to treat water in wetlands. Okay, so the next topic we're going to discuss is environmental microbiology. And this just basically tells you how microorganisms behave in their natural habitat. On the next slide, we're going to discuss more about microbial ecology. Okay, so microbial ecology is just the study of interrelationships among microorganisms and the environment. That's what it is. Microorganisms in a relationship in the environment. So on the next slide, we're going to discuss the levels of microbial association. Okay, so when we were in elementary school or middle school or high school, or even if you didn't learn it in grade school, then in general biology, they taught you about ecosystems and biospheres and, your environment. So that's what this is. It's just for microorganisms. So we're going to write down the levels of microbial association. I'm just going to write levels for short. So the first level is population. Populations. And then populations are organisms that reproduce together. And then guilds, that's a whole bunch of populations. And after guilds, there's communities. That's a whole bunch of guilds. And after communities, you have microhabitats. Habitats. have the ecosystem. And then lastly, our great big planet, the biosphere. And it's the different levels of microbial association. Okay, so this picture is just showing you pretty much everything I talked to you about. The biosphere, the ecosystem, the habitats, and the microhabitats, which consist of populations, guilds, and communities. Okay, so in microbioecology, it's very important to have biodiversity because that creates an atmosphere of competition, meaning that an organism or a microorganism in this case will compete to become better, so it'll improve itself and make a better version of itself. That's how we get things like evolution, because of biodiversity. Okay, in this particular slide, they're just talking about how microbes adapt to survive in their different type of conditions and environments. And right here, like before, we talked about competition and becoming the best in your environment. And then there's antagonism. So here on this slide, they discuss the topic of bioremediation. And that's just talking about landfills and ways in which we break down and degrade organic or inorganic matter. In landfills, they put it into a big pile and they burn it all up. That's what they do. So bioremediation is just trying to reduce or degrade organic compounds. Okay, so in this slide, they're telling you about acid mine drainage. Acid mine drainage is a serious environmental problem resulting from the exposure of certain metal ores to oxygen and microbial action. So this is just telling you about the causes of increased levels of iron and how it affects the environment, like how it kills local fish, plants, and organisms, and it's just very harmful for everything, not just humans, just everything that's living in that environment. This photo just tells you about the effects of acid mine drainer. You see all this coppery looking stuff in the water over here, all of this sludge and whatnot. It's just iron that is highly present in that water, and it's really bad because it can make people sick and animals sick, and it just can cause a lot of harm to the environment. Okay, this picture shows an acid-loving microbe. Because of all the iron present, it loves it, so it just keeps growing and growing and getting bigger and bigger because of all the acid present, and that's not necessarily a good thing because it could be a harmful thing for other living species. Okay, so the last thing we're going to talk about in this section is the role of microorganisms in biochemical cycles. And biochemical cycles consist of 6 elements. There's hydrogen, oxygen, carbon, nitrogen, sulfur, and phosphorus. And there's a few different cycles that can take place in these biochemical cycles, and that's the nitrogen cycle, the carbon cycle, the sulfur cycle, and the phosphorus cycle. And this is just telling you more about geochemical cycling. And this picture is an example of the carbon cycle and what it looks like and what steps it goes through. And then this photograph is a simplified version of the nitrogen cycle and how it goes through nitrogen fixation and all the different parts of the nitrogen cycle that you see here. and all the waste and dead cells that it creates, and NH3